Welcome everybody, I'm Alexander Linz, head of content of watchadvisor.com. We are at the SIHH 2019. I am at the booth of Jaeger-LeCoultre and with me is Stéphane Belmont, an old friend of mine. Hello Stéphane.
Hello Alexander, nice to welcome you.
Yeah, you are the brand heritage director meanwhile.
Yes.
That shows that we're getting older.
Absolutely, you're right.
We're getting older.
Yeah.
Stefan, we're standing not by coincidence in front of a scenery that is a little bit blue. There is a nice pendulum clock standing here, also in blue straw marqueterie.
Yeah.
And I have some blue watches in my hands again, guys. Please don't blame me. I always get blue watches. You know that I like blue. But this case, Stefan, I have to ask you something. When I look at these watches, they look like, let's say, a nice reinterpretation of something you have already been doing.
Yeah.
But I don't expect Jaeger-LeCoultre to do such an easy exercise. So what's really special on that piece? On the free by the side, we have three of them here. It's a full calendar. No, it's a calendar watch with moon phase.
Yeah.
And it looks pretty simple. And for me, it looks like if it's a new blue dial on it. But tell me the real story.
It's not just a blue dial.
Yeah, I think so. It's Jaeger-LeCoultre, it can't be.
So that's actually the Master Ultra Thin Moon that display the moon and the date, as you already said.
Yeah.
And we actually totally reworked not only the dial, but also the case, the movement finishings. And the dial, of course, is part of the experience.
To the camera.
Yeah, and this watch, actually, the dial is like, the most difficult in watchmaking is to mix the traditional crafts, like enamel, guilloché, and so on, with the complication. Because usually those crafts were performed on plain dial, so you have just the whole surface to finish with enamel or with guilloché. As soon as you do opening in order to display the function, like the moon phase, the perpetual calendar, the tourbillon, you create actually a hole in the dial, which actually for the enamel you need to have edges all around dial so that the enamel will not flow into the aperture. But you cannot perform the hand guilloché if you have edges. So you first have to start with the plain plate, which is flat. You do all the guilloché finishing, and just for every line, you need to cut the material 3 times. And once you're finished with creating all the lines, you start again and you cut again all the lines 3 times more, so that you have a perfect surface, which will then be responsible for the
I assume it's done by an artisan, not a machine.
It's done by a machine that is more than 100 years old, and an artisan that is
not 100 years old. But
the artisan is not 100 years old, but is actually performing his task on a very old machine.
Yeah.
And those old machines are just the only one to achieve that level of finishing for a guilloché. And if you want, as soon as you want to cover the guilloché with enamel, you need to have the best of the light coming from the back so that you enjoy the full color of the enamel. And as said, first you do the flat guilloché, then you have to bring for all the display some elements that will create edges around the different openings. So you have to use the technology of laser to weld all those materials so that they are perfectly water resistant, so that the enamel will not flow into those counters. And then for the enamel, for each layer of enamel, instead of having just 50 seconds in the oven, like to fire the enamel, like in the traditional enamel, it takes more than 15 minutes because you have so many elements that you need to be very careful with the temperature. So it's like, the combination of traditional craft and complication is like creating grand complication dial.
I take another piece. So the same exercise here, I think.
Yeah.
So it's the perpetual calendar.
Even more difficult because it's a perpetual calendar.
Yeah.
And you see, we've placed also metallic indexes, like in the traditional master.
Yeah.
That means for that, sometimes indexes are just glued on top of the enamel. But it's not good for the long run. So we will actually fix the indexes by digging some holes into the enamel,
Okay.
so that you can use the traditional feet and have a mechanical, the index are mechanically fixed on top of the enamel.
So
in the enamel.
seeing this complication or seeing the work that has to be done for such a dial, it seems it's as difficult to do such a dial like the entire watch.
It is absolutely.
In terms of
right.
time, what you take.
Usually for an enamel dial, it takes maybe 30 minutes or an hour to do.
Yeah.
There, it takes 2 to 3 days to make just one dial.
Okay.
So that's an amazing work.
And if you do a mistake, game over.
And if you do a mistake, it's finished. And that's why we were talking about machine to do the guilloché. The machine, everything depends on the pressure you put on the cutting tool. And if you just change slightly the pressure, you will see a wave into the cutting and the whole dial is damaged.
Okay, I take the last piece we have. It's a tourbillon mechanism. Let me.
It's the Master Ultra Thin tourbillon.
Yeah.
So with the tourbillon that has won the chronometry contest of the 21st century, the first one. Then there's a date display at 12 o'clock. And again, that dial that has the same finishings than the others. And the particularity of those models with those new dials is also invisible. It's because those movements with the perpetual calendar and with the moon phase, they have an increased power reserve of 70 hours instead of the traditional 45.
So work under the hood?
And it's all in the movement without changing the dimension of the movement.
Okay.
There are new pieces, new technology, new geometry that allow to increase the power reserve without making the watch thicker.
I assume these watches must be limited?
They're all limited, so those two, the moon phase
and perpetual
are limited to 100 pieces.
Yes.
And the tourbillon is limited to 50 pieces.
Do you, by coincidence, have the prices?
I don't have them just with me.
Then we will add them later.
Yeah.
It's not your job, I see that. Okay, thank you. Is this then, last question, Stéphane. Is this something that will stay in your collections in the future? Or is this an exercise you're doing once?
I think that use of the guilloché, of enamel and so on, that will of course be used in all of our collection. So that's something that is part of Jaeger-LeCoultre. All the métiers that are required to do that are in-house. So that means all the people are working only for Jaeger-LeCoultre. And that's what we will keep developing in the future with different level of execution, so that actually you can enjoy those beautiful finishing from the very top of Hybris Mechanica to much more affordable watches, ITB for men and also for women.
Good. Thank you very much, Stéphane.
My pleasure, Alexander.
I was really underestimating the watch. I saw, okay, blue dials, nice. But after what I've heard now, pretty interesting. Thank you very much. Thank you guys for watching. If you like what we're doing, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, to like our videos. And if you have any comments or questions to make, please use the comment section just underneath here. And bye-bye. See you the next time.
Bye-bye.